Welcome to Prime Debate. It's an issue that's consumed India over these past few months. Somehow bring back the black money stashed in banks abroad and it will end India's problems. That's been the nature of public discourse. But it only underscores how an important issue of tax evasion and illegally gotten wealth has been so generalized that perhaps the essence of the debate has been lost. Last week, the Swiss Central Bank stated that Indians have deposited over 11,000 crores in various Swiss banks. It's a figure much lower than what politicians of all hues have been proclaiming. However, the larger issue remains that black money is not only in foreign banks, it's everywhere.
The Supreme Court recently constituted a special investigation team to look into the initiatives being taken by the government to bring back black money. The move has been seen as an embarrassment to the government, which has been dilly-dallying on the issue. It is said that the illegal money stashed abroad runs into lakhs of crores of rupees. However, it is hard to estimate the sums lying abroad, as there are as many as 77 tax havens where the corrupt keep their money. Switzerland is best known amongst them, and the Swiss Central Bank has already stated that Indians have more than 11,000 crores of rupees stashed there. If the figure is correct, then the total in all tax havens would certainly be a multiple of that. But the fact is that all this money has been generated in our own country. It is round-tripped back into our country, which leads to more black income generation. But pertinent is also the fact most of the black savings are circulating in the country and not abroad. And in this scenario, all this talk of money stashed abroad seems to be a diversionary one. The real problem is nipping in its bud. And for that, the government has to take stern measures, and this needs will.
And to discuss this issue, we have in our studios Professor Arun Kumar, Chairman, Center for Economic Studies and Planning, JNU. Arun Prashar, he's a retired IAS officer. Rajinder K. Sabu, he's an industrialist and a social worker. Sudarshan Goyal, an advocate of Punjab and Haryana High Court. And Dr. A.K. Kundra, also a retired IAS officer. Well, thank you so much for being with us on our debate. And Professor Kumar, if I do begin with you, just a short while ago we were discussing where you had written this article where about $2 trillion of money has been in foreign banks. But that aside, could you just explain very briefly to us what exactly is black money? Because for normal people here, it would be a whole lot of money going into suitcases and stashed abroad.
See, black economy is the relevant concept and black money is a small part of that. Black economy means how much black income we are generating every year. And according to my estimate, 50% of GDP is now being generated as black, which amounts to 39 lakh crores this year. Now 39 lakh crores is a huge sum of money, and of that 10%, about 4 lakh crore goes out every year, but some of it comes back, some of it is consumed over there, etc. And that money which has been going out for the last 60 years is what has accumulated. Now when we say that $2 trillion is the estimate, that includes two components: how much money has gone out plus how much it would have earned in that period. So it's in some sense an opportunity cost and not the money lying abroad. So therefore we need to be careful about that. Second point is that black economy constitutes illegality. Part of it may be what is called bribe giving and corruption, and part of it may be illegality in other activities. Say for instance, teachers teaching in coaching classes and not declaring their incomes. Say for instance, doctors practicing privately or stealing kidney or blood, etc. So almost every section of our society today has got involved in the black economy, and especially the elite sections, and that is why the figures have become so large. Otherwise people say, how can it be that 50% of the economic activity is now illegal? The reason it has become so large is that the elite sections are very much a part of it. Now, the question is, if it is 50% of GDP, how can illegality be so large in society? Only when those who are in charge of law and order and the state, they are a party to it. So therefore, the corrupt politicians, the corrupt executive, they have to be a party to this, and that's why law can be systematically violated. So black economy is now systematic and systemic, just like the white economy is a system. Black economy has also become a system, and that's why we are not able to control it, because these are people in power and they're not going to curtail themselves. So you have this spectacle that where the one government is ruling, they are corrupt. When alternate government comes, they are also accused of corruption. In the states where the alternate government, the political parties are there, they are also there accused of corruption. So whether from the left to the right, the entire spectrum.
Mr. Prashar, that's what, Professor Kumar has just very correctly put it, that it's just everywhere. It's from political systems to the way we all are so used to it. I mean, tomorrow you tell somebody to go watch a movie, they're ready to buy it in black. You know, if you don't have a cylinder in place, you buy it in black. Black is like routine now.
There's something very interesting about these figures of 10% abroad and 90% in India.
Okay.
If you see the cases in Africa, for example, a lot of African dictators have been stashing their money abroad. Or Benazir Bhutto going to London, or Musharraf going there.
Yeah.
Indians don't do that. There is hardly any case of an important person running away from India and hiding somewhere else and using his money there. The fact seems to be that even if black, this money all is spent in India, whether it is at the time of elections, whether we have a few unusual things in this country which I think no country can match. For example, expenses on marriages. Most of it are through black money.
Yes.
Real estate transactions.
Real estate, of course.
A large component.
Yes.
Which I think even some of the state policies encourage. For example, for registration fee, we put a lower limit, that it will be at least at this rate, and beyond that whatever you pay, you will have to pay a higher fee. Now suppose we put an upper limit, thereafter people will, perhaps some of the people will have transactions for the full amount because they won't be paying a higher fee. But that will not generate black money, and maybe it will not be comfortable for some people.
Are you trying to say black money is generating wealth in whichever way? Like, for example, you know, you're spending it on marriages or spending it in real estate, any which way it's circulating back into the economy.
So it is unproductive.
You see, money is money. The color is assigned by law or society. Money has no color. The question can be whether it is good for the society or bad for the society. If certain amount of money, for example, brings electoral malpractices, as happened in the last elections, that the Election Commission had to search people traveling to those states where elections were taking place, and then bagfuls of money were taken out. Or if it leads to criminal practices, as black money does in eastern UP and Bihar, then it is bad for society, certainly.
Okay.
The other part is also bad for the society, but in not such a direct way. For example, its productivity may be very low. Money which is in official channels is bound to be more productive, add more to GDP, as Professor Saab says, while money which is not in official channels, its productivity is bound to be low. Lastly, the possibility of black money makes it a sort of incentive that black money should be generated.
Let me ask Mr. Sabu. So, Mr. Sabu, how do you see, how has black money panned out? What is your perception?
Unfortunately, black money, or whatever name you give it, has corroded the whole society. And it is not just of recent origin. It almost started as soon as we had the independence, and a few years after that, when we got into the system of the election, we got into the system of the license Raj, we got into the system, all well meant, but unfortunately it had too much of regimentation. And wherever there were roadblocks, in order to remove those roadblocks, you needed money.
But I might add, after 1991, when large number of controls have been removed, tax rates have
Yeah,
gone down,
let me complete.
gone up very fast.
No, let me.
It was in 1955,
No, but let me
it was only 4 to 5% of GDP, whereas now 50%.
Yeah, but let me.
So it was relatively clean then and has become much more dirty.
Much more dirty now. Okay.
Well, I think that the dirt, once it starts, it does not stop, because that that virus has already been there, and that is the unfortunate
now
part.
that
Yes.
much more. Yes.
And what has happened over the period of time, we have lost values. Today in the society, why does anybody want to have money? Money, as Mr. Prashar has rightly said, has no color. Some people call it black money, some people call it account number 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. But the point is that everyone wants a recognition in the society. And that recognition comes either through your net high worth or the power that you have. So that is, unfortunately, we may have come a long way, but we are still living in a feudal society.
But that would be true in all societies, that whether recognition comes from money or from political power or some such thing. But we have to ask why in India it has particularly grown very rapidly. After all, in the West also, in America also.
I'm sure you have black money everywhere. Yes.
No, not only black money, but power comes out of either money or political power.
Yeah.
That's true everywhere.
Right.
No, it is not true. It is not true. It is not true. You have been talking about Switzerland. You have been talking about Switzerland. You take example of Switzerland itself,
right.
and I have seen their prime minister traveling in a tram car.
But power is
So,
that's you talk about power.
But what I'm but
Okay.
let me complete. The point is that today you see other countries where the political and the bureaucracy does not have that kind of authority in having the recognition of the society.
I think what
And the media also is responsible. Media gives.
Let me get Mr. Goyal in.
Yeah, I'll give the genesis. In old, when I talk to myself about genesis of black money or corruption or good governance, Chanakya in Kautilya, in Arthashastra, he preaches that a good king should keep an eye on the enemy's journal and bribe him with the promise that I'll make you the king. So the greed is basically the motivating factor, the corruption. In 50s, Lockheed scandal, if you have heard of it. Lockheed scandal rocked which countries? Japan, Italy, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia.
But Mr. Goyal,
Millions of dollars.
right.
And then government of US finally sanctioned a loan guarantee worth $400 billion in 1975 to bail out Lockheed. Then Enron Corporation in 2001, and the accounting firm Arthur and Anderson, the fifth
No,
largest firm of the
the
world.
point right now is, yes, right, in India, for this last few years where you see it escalating at a...
I say our corruption is very, very minimal in terms of global corruption. If we see, we have no corruption practically.
No, but the point is that in other countries you have the corruption at a high level.
Yeah.
In India you have the
corruption at all levels.
which disturbs your
Just
day-to-day
before
life.
going for a break, Mr. Kundra has to give us his perception on how he views it.
No, I think the basic question I think that you raised is that what has been the genesis of black money, why it has grown so much. I think as Mr. Sabu had pointed out that initially after independence we adopted a regime which created opportunities for windfall gains.
License permit quota.
License, it is windfall gains. Now windfall gains you cannot even disclose as to how this money has come to you. So that money was somehow stacked outside, and this is how it started. But because in the earlier periods of development, I think another point which needs to be appreciated is that in any society which is on the path of development, in the initial phases there will be a lot of shortages. Shortages will mean premium on services unless there is so much of regulation. There are certain areas where black money has gone. For example, the petty black money has gone out totally. Say 20 years ago, if you have to get a telephone connection, you have to pay. If you had to, get a car, you have to pay.
Right.
You have to pay even for scooter. You have to pay.
Yes, yes.
Where is black money there?
For
Yes.
many petty activities still there's corruption.
No. I'm just